Hussein, firstly, let me welcome you all here. Thank you for reaching out, and you are most welcome here. I don't know whether I need to give a short history of myself. For those who do not know me, I am 59 this year, and we have been in this good country ever since the birth of independence. And I must say that this country has been very gracious to us. I grew up in a family of 4. My father is well known in politics and governance in this country. He's an alumni of Stanford, and these were the people that were the founders of Kenya. So we grew up, I must say, with, let me not say privilege, but with comfort. We did not have problems. Well schooled, we went to school in St. Mary's. From St. Mary's I went to Canada, and then I have continued schooling in Canada. My forte has been business. When I came back, I was very anxious to understand the national bread of Kenya. And I returned from Canada at a time when we had multi-parties. And multi-partyism, because of a lot of good friends that I had grown up with, let me say friends, they were more my uncles, like Matiba. Uncle Matiba, Uncle Ken. We heavily got involved in what I called at the time revolutionary politics. So my makeup is that way. I believe in breaking barriers. I believe in going beyond the normal. And I've learned that in life, there's very little you're going to achieve if you don't take risk. Very little you're going to achieve without risk. And that is who I am. So I have taken a lot of risks in business, a lot of risks in politics. And I changed the game. In fact, the greatest part of my life is changing the game. When it's ordinary, I'm very bored. I feel I'm not fulfilling God's purpose for me in this world. So I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I look beyond the norm. And this is what informed what I have done here with the forensic investigation into our death. If you don't mind, I can get into it. Yeah, because it is something that should worry every single one of us. Young people, especially. You ask anybody under 40 today, is 79% of the population of Kenya. I am in a minority bracket. You are the ones who are going to bear the burden of something that I call a total rip-off.
When the previous regime was leaving the power, that is the government of Mike Baki, he left a country that the poverty rate was at 38%. And now this incumbent government that is now leaving power in the next 1.5 weeks is leaving the office with 60+%. That is poverty rate. This same regime that we are talking about today that has really impoverished many Kenyans that it found, leaving a lot of debt more than it found, is one of the regimes that you really helped and brought into power, and that is why many gives you a heart of a kingmaker. Now, when talking about it, now you can proceed on what you are mentioning.
That is true, and I have been very vocal about it.
Yeah.
After almost 50 years, we had reached the point of Itwika. This was a time when a new generation, my generation, who had had the length and breadth of the world, their hands, had seen, learned more, can reset Kenya for the challenges going forward, within and outside. And that is why I participate. But I'll tell you also for a personal reason. The two gentlemen approached me. I didn't approach them.
Okay.
And they approached me several years before. Because they believe what I put together works. What I put together
Works. How fast politicians change.
Oh yes, it was 1 year. Say, hey, what are we doing here? Hey, I want nothing to do with it.
So do you regret?
No, I'm very happy I did. Today you'd all be calling me the worst things here. I am so glad I did. History, and I said, history is going to judge me on the right side, even if it's 50 years. I want to be on the right side of history. And I believe I did the right thing. Just like with my good friend Raila. I suffered greatly, assisting. I was reading in my house.
Yeah.
I had an obituary that I'm dead. Okay? Because of helping Raila against Uhuru. Okay? Raila came to my house after swearing in for safety to stay with me. It tells you the connection. But then he goes to shake hands. We were going to Canaan. He was our Moses, our Joshua. Yeah. Did you ever read in the Bible Joshua or Moses going back to Pharaoh?
No, that didn't happen.
This is the problem. He went back to Pharaoh.
Yeah, okay.
That's me. Those sort of journeys I cannot participate in. Yes, we are going to Canaan or back to Pharaoh. I refused.
But your friend that you mentioned...
I completely refused.
But you mentioned
you
that...
have gone back to Pharaoh, may you leave me on my journey to Canaan. Hata kama ni mimi peke yangu. But I will not join you. To Pharaoh. No.
Not happening.
I've been there, done that, no more.
Okay. But the claim is that because out of that handshake, today we are having the peace that we are enjoying today. Do you buy the same concept?
Chaos. Did we have chaos? You know, peace is a currency that is sold to you as though it's a favor. Which chaos was there? It was police shooting people here. Who's creating the chaos? You demonstrate, they shoot you. We went to welcome Raila coming from London. Why were they shooting anybody? They killed 18 people that day. What chaos was there? Just to welcome. Who was creating the chaos? It was somebody called Uhuru Kenyatta, who election had been nullified because of illegality and irregularity. In other words, theft of the people's will. Yes, what chaos? You cannot compare that to the chaos of 2007.
Yeah, you
the chaos
can.
of 2007 was something we have never witnessed. So this currency called peace that is continually sold is just like the one of Bora Uko or High. Be happy with your state of mind. So you don't wish for much. As long as we have peace, it's okay. So the ruling, continue ruling. It's part of the brainwashing and enslavement. Don't buy it. In this day and age, who is not going to get away with not having peace in Kenya? It's not a favor, it's them who create the chaos. It's not coming from Wananchi. It's them who create it. So what is that? No. No.
Okay. That is very good. Going back to the public debt that now we were talking about.
Yes.
Now, this public debt and how you've done the forensic analysis, I would want to ask you, why or what really motivated you into going down this road and coming up with such facts? And because, again, you look at it, most of the journalists have been asking for this agreement so that they can look at it. Kenyan journalists, they want to see the agreement that has been signed by the Kenyan government and the countries that are giving us the loan. And they've never gotten it.
Correct.
And you, having clashed with the incumbent government, you are not in good page, and you got these details. Is it one way that you are trying to punish them? Because again, 2013, they frustrated you as the talks were going, that probably you were fighting them back because of the SGR, but that one you explained out what really transpired and how it happened. Now, could it be that again you got another way that you want to punish the people who really didn't show you mercy after really risking your life to work things out and to make things work out?
Oh, Hussein, that's furthest from the truth.
Yeah.
You see, first and foremost, I don't know what you read of what the journalists are looking for. They are looking for contractual documents. which our constitution says should be transparent because it's the people who have been contracted. The sovereign, the government is the people. So we should have access. The laws on access to information are very clear on that. So the government denies giving it. But what I've produced, the forensic investigation is not on contract. The forensic investigation is on public documents published by the government as per the law every year. So what have I done? The budget is published. And the budget has got two acts that become law in Parliament. There's what is called appropriations.
Okay.
Appropriations development and appropriations recurrent. This is what forms the legal basis for all expenditure, revenue, loans. Approval becomes law here.
Yeah.
So all we have done is do an analysis of published documents. Even today, you can go on websites, you see them. Ministry of Finance, it is there. Because that is the law, they have to do it. And then we have looked at what you call the statement of government, like your own statement in your bank account, COPA, KCB. Every month you get a statement of your account. That is also a public document because we are the sovereign. That is on the CBK website. Every month they publish the statement of government.
Yes.
Which is us, the sovereign. That's all. No secret.
Okay.
Now, you asked me why I've done it.
Yes.
I told you for two reasons. I didn't understand how so much more debt has just been creating poverty. Is that on purpose? Because how do you take money for development and you're just creating poverty? That's one. The next is, as you know, I want to be CEO of this country. And as CEO, like even if you're taking over a company, okay?
Yeah.
If I was to take over a company today, one of the first things you do is look at the books. What is that company's, what do their books look like? What is their revenue? What is their sales, their sales in revenue? What are the obligations? Do they have debt?
Yeah.
Right? Okay?
Yes.
What is their staffing? Here we are told, right, by the same government, that almost 70% of their revenue, they say 65, but the other quotas who say almost 75%. But they are saying in the last budget, 65% of their revenue, what they collect in tax goes towards
to service the
debt.
loan.
Okay?
Yeah.
I want you to imagine in your own home. In your own home, you earn 10,000 shillings, and 6,500 shillings is going towards debt. You only have 3,500 to live on.
For a whole
That's
month.
a crisis. In economic terms, they tell you that if a household is borrowing more than 25% of their income, they are in what is called a debt trap. You need to take more and more debt in order to live. With the government, no, in fact, the household is 30%. With the government, it's 25%. So this government passed that threshold long, long ago. So we are in a debt trap. Okay, at 65%. Those are their figures.
Yes.
The Institute of Economic Affairs says it is 74.5%. So we are in a debt trap. Why would one not want to understand what this debt is? What was it for? How come it has not had a return? Because you can only borrow for development. So where is the return? Are you saying we put up things in this country that did not stimulate the economy? Okay? Because that's what they're about.
Yeah.
Stimulating the economy for more growth. So this doesn't correspond with what they talk about GDP growth. If more people have become poor, you've taken this debt, and GDP is going up. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. So I sought and invested heavily in a team of experts, led by somebody called Bernard Mitchell, who has been in government for a long time, 40 years, as an internal auditor. And he's a fraud expert. To look at this. There were three of them, and one was to look at law. And we started in September. By the time I was getting the report, it was about March. And I was shocked to the revolution. Shocked. I've been quiet all this time. Very shocked. Very shocked. And let me, in summation, tell you. As I said, the budget is the legal framework in our constitution for all our expenditure, revenue, loans. There's nothing else outside the budget. And the budget is anchored in the constitution and in what is called the Public Finance Management Act. The Public Finance Management Act is very clear. You can only borrow for development. You cannot borrow for recurrent. So all the borrowings are in Appropriations Act development. Appropriations recurrent has wages in ministries. It has repayment of our loans. It has operations costs. Like now, the last budget, the operations cost of government was something like 325 billion shillings. Wages were something like 620, 625 billion shillings. That is in recurrent budget. The recurrent appropriations act. Then you have appropriations in that again for loan repayments. Okay?
Yes.
Are we clear?
We are clear.
And the Recurrent Appropriations Act is financed solely from our taxes, no borrowings. Borrowings are in the development appropriations, and it's very well put. The government lists what are called gross estimates. Gross estimates are the projects they intend to do, and their estimated value. It then lists in the next column the revenue, where they are going to get the revenue from. So much from our taxes, so much from debt. So we just took their own books, public books. It's just that we spent time and effort on professionals to tell us what those numbers are.
Yeah, and what they mean.
No, not even what they mean, what those numbers are. What are those numbers? So, what are the numbers? What was the estimate for all the projects the Jubilee government has wanted to do over the last 8 years? So you do the numbers, and the numbers there came to 5.3 trillion. Those were Uhuru Muigai's projects, right? Total, yes. Over the last 8 years. All right, 8.5 years. Perfect. Where was he getting the revenue? 3.3 trillion from taxation and 2.2 from debt. And that debt was all external, no local borrowing. Okay?
Yes.
And that debt in the schedule is already locked in. So, Kitui Water Project being funded by Government of India is already there. Syokimau Road Project, Government of Japan, locked in. Geothermal something, locked in Government of Kenya. The loans are already in place by the time the budget appropriations is paid. So, if these projects were 5.3, 3.3 were coming from our taxes, and only 2 trillion has been approved by Parliament, became law from Parliament to be taken as a loan. So the debt to us over the last 8 years is 2 trillion.
2 trillion.
So we just did some simple math. If it's 2 trillion and Kibaki left 2.3, 2.4, that's about 4.4. Correct?
Yes.
Let us even assume no payments. Let's assume
no pay?
No repayments. How do we have a debt
of
8.4
trillion?
Where is this 4 trillion? That's all. It's there in plain sight. It's not hidden. It's in plain sight. What is this law, or who has got this capacity outside of the law to borrow double, more than double, what has been approved by our law? For what purpose? Because if it was for a project, it would be here in the budget, in the appropriations. So what is it funding? Can be funding a project that we all know of, Wanjigi knows of. Because in the budget making process, the Constitution said we as Mora and Wanjigi must be involved. Hussein must be involved.
Yeah.
There is called public participation, anchored in our constitution.
Yes.
So we don't know of this more than double borrowing that is outside the law. What is it? Very simple. Very simple. It is now 4 days since I released the dossier. Treasury, CBK have not answered.
And do you think, or do you expect them to give you a feedback with this few days?
In law, they say silence is consent. Okay? Silence is consent. I can tell you, Hussein, I am going to warn them next week. Because after that, they have only themselves to blame. Why I brought it out now is because I'm giving Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta a chance to answer this before he leaves.
The office in
CJ wasiseme baadaye, I'm following him after he has left. Let the office answer when he's still there. So nobody criticizes me afterwards. Why didn't you do this when you were sitting on the chair? You're just going after him. I'm not going after him. You see, the Constitution is also very clear. The makers of our new Constitution were cognizant of what had happened in the past. In the past regimes, especially the 24 years of Moi, there was expenditure outside of the budget where the president is not accountable. A minister of finance would continually be blamed. So the makers of our new constitution introduced a very interesting clause. When the two appropriations acts are passed by parliament, the president assents to them. Once he assents to them, they become law. And when they become law, he has to sign thereafter what are called presidential warrants. Okay? Yes. They are anchored in regulation. Presidential warrants that kick off money. It is from there that money can start moving. A debt can be taken. They can come and collect taxes.
Yes.
It is from those warrants. So he signs a warrant for Appropriations Act development. Signs a presidential warrant, appropriations recurrent. That kicks off the money. The basis of that warrant is that he takes personal responsibility as CEO of Kenya for any malfeasance that happens there. So my question and my exposure of this investigation, I'm addressing to him because the warrants are his. So Treasury and CBK can ignore me.
But he should be.
He should not ignore me.
Yeah.
Because it will befall him. It will befall him. And I'm giving him a chance when he's in office. See, why did you ask me when I was there? He's there. He has all the capacity to ask Treasury, to ask CBK, what is Jimmy saying? He has not done so. And I will advertise that warning next week, so that he does not say he was not told. He is personally responsible, according to our Constitution, for this.
For this mess that he has created.
Now, what I want you to understand is saying,
yes,
it is terrible. In as much as there is the 4.1 trillion that has been borrowed outside the law, Kenyans, in the Recurrent Appropriations Act that they have passed over the last 8.5 years, that's where our taxes fund, where wages of salaries, I told you, have been about 625 billion shillings.
Yes.
Where operations were 300 billion equal. And where this financial year, 1 trillion is going to debt equal. 1 trillion is the payment you are paying to debt this year. Okay, this financial year. Yeah. It's in Recurrent Appropriations Act. Kenyans over the last 8.5 years have repayments to debt of 5.6 trillion. In other words, our sweat has paid that much from our taxes to repayment of debt. Okay?
Yes.
So why is central bank showing us a figure of 8.4? Why? Where is this credit? It didn't go to repayment of debt. Where did it go?
Because the figure should be going down.
It should be going down. How come it is just going up? So the Kibaki is 2.3. Correct?
Yeah.
What is legal is 2.
2.
That is 4.2. We have paid 5.6. Central bank should be showing a credit of 1.2.
Which is not being indicated.
We have overpaid our loans. Where is it? Even remove that figure and say 5. 5. You have an approval of 2. Add the 4, which is taken illegal. 6.1.
That is 6.
6.1. Yes. Now add Kibaki's. That brings you 8.4. That's why you get the 8.4.
Yes.
Then say subtract our repayments. 5.6.
5.6.
Brings it to 2.8. Should be the only thing they should be showing us. Why are they still showing us 8.4? So
Now, but
it's just simple math. Then you go on further. So I say,
yeah.
let me, before you go and say, I conclude by saying this. 4 trillion went to no project. Has got no approval in law. In law. They've taken double what is approved in law. That cannot be on us, because we don't know what it went for. We didn't approve it. Then you have 5.6 that you have not credited. So what did it go to pay? Because the statement is like your bank statement, that you're repaying a loan and it's not showing a credit. Of 5.6. When you add those two, that is 9.6 trillion. That is the highest. Are we on the same page, you say?
We are.
That is the highest. Is almost $100 billion. It is our GDP, annual GDP, that has been stolen. It is what Bill Gates is worth that has been stolen. This is a political ploy of enslavement. You've got to understand it. This is not personal. This is reality, because we must live in reality. We must blow this bubble, and those who have done this must face the full force of the law.
And help us repay the debt.
No, full force of the law, and are culpable for this. There's no debt. We owe no debt. In fact, we are owed 1.2 trillion. If you hear somebody saying they are paying debt, you know that's the thief. Those are thieves. We owe no debt. Please understand that.
Okay.
I'm so clear with this. We owe no debt. Anybody saying we are paying debt, we are using. This is part of the conspiracy of Kuiba. You understand?
I do.
This is a part of the heist. This is called debt wash. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, now let
Please
me
understand
ask you.
it. It's a pyramid scheme.
I really do understand this one. Now, let me ask you. Now, moving forward, that now we have this pyramid that we've been subjected to, and we are being told every now and again that even the unborn babies are having almost
Yes, that's the pyramid
100.
scheme.
Yeah. So where do we go from here?
Oh, let me
Where do
assure
we
you.
go
Let me
from
assure
here?
you. Let me assure you.
Yeah.
Kenyans are not going to pay anything there. They're not. That one you will see. And then I want to see anybody saying we pay debt.
It's going to
That one, we are not paying any more debt.
Okay.
Yes. And anybody claiming we owe them, let them show us where it is in the law. If it is anchored in what we have approved, that means we paid for things we have not approved. So we tafuta now, the people, we paid. Who, yes, who paid? So that they pay this one. Are we together? We are not paying any more debt. It is fake. Would you pay to a pyramid scheme when it's exposed?
No, it's not.
Correct. Because what happens with the pyramid scheme, it's only good as long as it goes on. Once you stop it, it collapses. That's what's going to happen here.
Okay.
You watch it collapse before your eyes. That's why some people want to extend themselves, so they can continue this. Because if it stops, it collapses in their faces. People will ask questions.
Okay. I think another question that I would want to understand coming from you is that now, one of the things that you mentioned when you were explaining why and how this forensic analysis was done and how it happened and what it brought, the expose that now we are talking about today, is that this whole thing is rounded in corruption. Just look at it in a very big picture of corruption. Now, in a bigger picture, we've seen the DCI up and about, and so many cases have been taken to court of corruption and so on. One, these people eventually, very few of them brings back our money that have been stolen. And again, the cases like the dam, Aror Dam and so on, these cases have been caught for the last 4 years, and they're still just being called for mentioning, and people go back and nothing really good is happening out of it. How do you think we should run and work around this one so that, again, when people are taken to court, we fasten the justice process so that if you've stolen, bring it back so that we don't really feel the weight of that vacuum that you created by removing money from the Kenyan's pocket? How do you think we should go about this one? Because again, justice works closely with this to make the life of normal Kenyans, the ordinary Kenyans, easier and better.
Hussein, that's a very good question. I just want to correct you one word. I think this is beyond corruption. It's even beyond state capture. This is enslavement. It's an ideology. It is not just about the money. It's about making people slaves. It is bigger than that. Now, I also want to give you hope. Okay? And the hope is twofold. The first is that Kenya is a country of firsts. We have broken very many barriers in the past. At independence, we were the only ones who fought the Mzungu, the British colonialists, for independence. This country, nobody else did in the world. When they were called Great Britain, okay, when their subjugation, their colonies had 500 million people. It's only Kenyans who got up against it. Let's not go even very far. There's no other African country. We're the third in the world in terms of countries, but no other African country. We were the first to nullify an election of a president. It tells you we are a country of us, and that was the justice system. So don't lose so much faith. Yeah? Enslavement does this to all the institutions. It subjugates them. But we've been here before. We were not born in the 80s and 90s when laws were there that protected all this. Okay? That made sure you had no freedom of speech. You couldn't speak like we're having today. You would have been arrested trying to do this. But our voice was only VOA or BBC radio because you had no other choice. And it was law. Okay? So people created new law to open up our space. Removed those laws that restricted. Here we have laws that are open. So the justice system under this regime, okay, has decided, because this regime ignores laws, it ignores court order, has decided they are going to operate outside the law. That is called impunity. And impunity has a cost and has an end. It is going to end. That is one. I want you to have faith in this country and our people. Okay? And know that our laws, our constitution, had very clear intent. Okay? So we will overcome this. Don't worry. The second is that look around us. You have a younger democracy like South Africa. Younger to us. And even where you had a sitting president who put a CJ that he knew that CJ declared a lot of his actions unconstitutional, led to his eventual leaving power, and that is a man today who is serving a 2-year jail sentence. Okay, as a former president. It's happening elsewhere. So have faith. These are things you're going to see. You're going to live to see. People imagine in Kenya that it is not, it's unimaginable to imagine a former president in court or in jail. You're going to see it. Let me assure you, you're going to see it. It's not something that is, that person is not God. You must be accountable for what you do in office. So have faith. Yeah? Have faith. I'm telling you. And have faith and strength in Kenyans. We have the capacity to rise up, always at the right time, for what is right. We do. And we have proven it over and over again. So do not be subjected into, the people who live in impunity want you to feel hopeless. Refuse and reject that. It's the same way they want you to feel life is just about survival, not living. Borrow uhai. Oh, life is about having peace. You have peace now, you should be grateful, amen. This is, as though they're doing you a favor. Apana. Refuse to live in that space. Yeah? Stand up for your calling of greatness, because God put us all here to be great in our own individual way. Live up to it and reject any barrier that is coming along to stop you. So please, those are two reasons.
When you mentioned that picture, many people want to ask that when you got the feedback from the you said that the first time you got the feedback was in March, and we are now. For this one, we are now moving to the election of weeks. And all this time, we didn't speak about it so that the Kenyan get this information and digest it, so that before going for the national elections and so on, it's a great mind how to go because again, you see now, right now, we are limited. We have very few people that are on the list. But before then, we have many people one day. So why did you speak then, but now choose to speak now? And you only have 1 week. So many people have made their mind up. During the one week to say what they say or not, we have made our mind. This is the first way to do it. Because everything that now comes out right now is considered as a political statement that is used to discredit others. And people might not really have the time to go through the challenge of all the information that are so full and meaning out of it. Within 1 week that you're having the election, when you speak in April, when you speak in that March, May, June, and
I think you're forgetting the reasons why I commissioned the study. The first reason was I did not understand the poverty rate that had increased vis-a-vis them. The second is I wanted to know the book of accounts of government, because I had my quest for the CEO of the country. Where was I going to unleash it? I was going to unleash it when I bring my manifesto. Because at my manifesto, I'm going to tell you, we have no debt. So we are going forward on the basis of our forensic investigation that shows, in fact, we have a credit balance. And it's on the basis of that that we're going to roll out focus. Are we together? Does that make sense? Yes. Because if you see any of the manifestos that have been presented, they all had a basis of dealing with debt. Everyone's saying, you're promising all sorts of things, but how are you going to deal with the debt? I was coming up and saying, by the way, we don't have debt. And I think Kenyans would have been, how? Yes. Here. Say if you want a debt-free country, Jimmy is the candidate. Correct? Is that clear?
It is.
Yes.
Yes.
It was part of my manifesto document. This, what you're seeing here, was part of my manifesto document. Just to show you that if one wants to be CEO of a nation, one must be serious. They must do their homework. Correct? They must do their homework. This is not just sloganeering. Do your homework like anything else you do in life. Do your homework. I did my homework. The debt which is so-called the biggest problem is actually fake.
It's actually fake.
Yes.